Hey, welcome to special Pinkerton's Ghost Q&A. I'm your host, Ben Wheeler, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Anthony Marquetta and Ken Dickinson.
Yo.
Hello, gentlemen. Uh,
Oh,
yes, this is for our $20 subscriber, Cordell, uh, who is absolutely fantastic. Uh, what did you bro used to say? You can be one of these by getting one of those or something. But point is that you can watch our videos early on Subscribestar with early on Subscribestar. We are gonna take a break, but not much of one, for about 6 weeks or so while we put up previously made episodes, one every 2 weeks. But I'll still be posting little vignettes up here as well as chapters of other projects that we're working on. Um, where are all our viewers? Oh no! Oh well. So excuse me. Um,
perfectly right.
so if you want to join up on our Subscribe Star, we'll take care of you like we do all our kings. And yes, we do stand our short kings here. Yes, we do. All right. So questions the first.
Yes.
Uh, if you could choose 20 books of any category, what would they be and why? Let's start with you, Ken.
Wait, so the question is if I could basically ask what my favorite genre is?
Yeah, sure. Like you're stuck on a desert island. You get one category and 20 books. I'm not
I'll go
worried about.
fantasy.
Okay, so it's all fantasy books.
Pretty much. I mean, if it's really one genre, then
I dig it.
I mean,
Uh,
you've seen my book collection. That's pretty much what most of my fiction section is, anyway.
it's a nice and large collection, Ken. You should be proud of it. I'm
I
surprised
am.
you're not attached to anyone. All right. So, wait. 20 books. I don't know. I'm not going to go through all 20 books. Uh, because we'd be here for a while and I'd have to choose. For me, it's a solid science fiction. Just for the simple ideas, bigger ideas than what we get. I like stars exploding, okay? Or the threat of a star exploding, and somebody has to stop the star from exploding. Also,
Fair enough.
science fiction, even though it is a genre, it's also kind of a setting. So there's a huge variety of stories, just like in fantasy. How about you, Anthony?
I mean, 20 books is just like so many. I guess if I'm picking a genre, I suppose I'm picking fantasy. But, I'm not really wed to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
The, the last new book that I read, and, new as in new to me, was probably I think it was Lawheads in the Hall of the Dragon King in the
Hmm.
Dragon King trilogy, and that was a few months ago, so that was fantasy.
That was a good book.
It
Fa-
was.
fantasy it is.
It
Uh,
was a strange book because it read sort of like a young adult, not like a young adult novel, even though I don't think it was marketed that way.
Right.
So it was, but I liked it quite a bit.
fantastic. Uh, I think the next. Anthony, please. I don't know. Okay. I think I read Girl Genius, and I don't think it's the Voice of the Castle. It's the next one after that. But point
Girl
is,
Genius.
Girl Genius, Agatha Heterodyne, Girl
Oh,
Genius.
what a
Uh,
fantastic name.
it is a fantastic name. It's the fourth book in the series.
Hmm.
It's a web comic mostly.
Ah, okay.
I
Is it a nom de plume? Because it feels kind of like there once was a boy named Eustace Scrub, and he almost deserved it.
no. It's that's her literal name.
Oh, wow.
Uh, it's a book series.
Oof,
Yeah.
big oof.
I
Heterodyne. Heterodyne is a fantastic name.
don't know. Nothing personal if any of our watchers are named Heterodyne.
It's a science term for having novelization. Yeah, it is the Siege of Mechanicsburg. There we go. I'm trying to think here, but essentially, it's got all kinds of nice, exciting mad science and stuff like that.
No wonder you like it.
It's great. It's got a joie de vivre.
Mm.
These aren't even Pinkerton's ghost questions, Cordell. But that's okay. We still love you. If you could pick a country from any part of history to live in for 10 years, which one would it be? You would be safe from whatever bad things are happening.
Oh, well, that's an important distinction.
Right? It's like you would want to be in, like, really, there's only a few there, and the biggest one is probably the Pax Romana.
Hmm.
Because, and of course you're not going to die in Pompeii.
Right. For
'Cause,
multiple reasons, considering what Pompey was known for at the time.
right? No syphilis or volcanoes exploding in your face.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you have? Do you guys have any other ones?
Honestly, as much, even though Roman history is my favorite time period, I really wouldn't want to live there because it was an exceedingly cruel and brutal time to live in. I would say if I were going to live anywhere, I would do maybe Renaissance Venice.
Ooh, that is a nice one.
Interesting pick.
Thank you.
Okay, so the 10 years thing I think kind of changes it, because if you ask me, like, well, what decade would I rather be living in? Honestly, a pretty good pick is like 80s America
Oh yeah.
or so. That was really, if I know that we're looking at it, everybody thinks the 80s, that the 50s was the golden age or whatever.
No, the 80s
But
were the best year.
talking to people who lived through it, it looks like the 80s was really the last time that America was truly great,
Right.
and the 90s had kind of a dead cat bounce for a moment before.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because America still had Russia as its
Things
enemy, and you always need a common enemy to rally
spiraling.
against.
Christian nation, they're able to live as Christians there. With that said, I get 10 years, so I'm going to treat this sort of like an extended vacation in a cool time period. And given that, oh man, I don't know. The thing is that all of the interesting places are also places you probably wouldn't actually want to live unless you were rich. So it causes a bit of a conundrum. I mean, maybe I would be okay as a medieval peasant. It would certainly get me into shape pretty fast.
That really depends on what country.
No, it depends where and when. Yeah, the thing is that the medieval world was comparative to other eras of history, was comparatively quite a good place to live in, depending on where you lived. Obviously,
right?
Yeah, I mean, there were also medieval peasants who were worked to the bone. That's kind of why this is a problem. Anything you say sort of sounds naive, doesn't it?
True.
Because as soon as you say it, you could point out like 20 very excellent reasons you probably wouldn't actually want to live there.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
I mean, Renaissance Venice is a pretty good pick.
It feels like the safest one.
That's an okay idea. Yeah, I guess that's an okay idea.
I guess.
Like, no one wants to disrupt their bankers for any reason.
Exactly.
All the Germans were fighting each other. Like, it's like what time period? Well, the 10 years where the plague was going on, because nobody was really waging war as big as they used to.
And we know how to wash our hands.
We also know we aren't going to die, so.
Because we've been guaranteed 10 years?
Yes.
I guess that's true.
Actually, here's another question, though. Is it actually 10 years, or is it 10 years like the Book of Revelation, where people are wanting to die, but they can't?
I mean, getting stuck in a coffin for 9 years?
Sounds kind of awful.
Hey. Aaron VT, an absolute king, has just subscribed to our subscribe star.
Hey, Aaron.
Absolutely. Feel free to ask a question.
Hero.
Well, I double check just in case. You can't cheat me. No, I'm kidding. But we do have our second subscriber, and it is Aaron VT. Thank you kindly. Yeah, sure, I'll answer.
We just doubled our subscriber count in 30 seconds. Match that.
This is the most important stream we've ever done. Then
Right, right. And thank you for the $5, Aaron. We do appreciate it. Just so you know, like the $20 guys, though, if you want to be a real superstar, Megabuster Shepard says, speaking of Germany, they need to bring the Kaiser back. That's like saying the
I
Russians
agree.
need to be the czars back. I mean, yeah, in a way, sure. But the problem is that they're so cucked, it doesn't matter.
Look, the Kaiser, the mentality and philosophy of the Kaisers bled directly into Nazism. So I have a low opinion of the Kaisers in Germany. I also consider World War One to be one of the most commonly misunderstood wars. And the reason for that is people tend to look at World War One as like World War Two was the morally black and white war. Nazis are bad and the other side is good. And World War One was the morally gray war where nobody was really a good guy and people had these gray motivations. I actually don't agree with this at all. I disagree with this take. In World War One, there were bad guys. The bad guys were the Germans again. They were
No.
100% the Germans.
No.
The people who were going up against the Germans were 100% the good guys in World War One, at least comparatively.
No, but it didn't matter then because it was just another European land war. And frankly, who cares about European land wars? Not us. We did an entire doctrine as to why we shouldn't involve ourselves in those. We didn't stick by it, but that's because Wilson was I can't use the words. He was a bad guy.
He was a socialist.
Exactly.
Probably.
No, that was World War One. World War One was at least as morally straightforward as World War Two, and quite possibly more morally straightforward because the Allies weren't allying with countries like Russia at the time. Stalin Russia.
No, I maintain that it was much worse than World War II or World War One. Much like I maintain that World War One was still pretty morally gray because, like I said, European land war, Americans don't care.
So I think the distinction is that the individual soldiers in World War One were much better off morally than either their commanders or their successors in World War Two, especially on the German side.
I agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that the generals were ossified dinosaurs who had no other strategy but various complicated ways to send their men into a meat grinder.
Now that is not true, and I will fight that one.
All right.
The generals in World War One evolved battle tactics and strategies greatly as the war progressed. World War One featured a rapid changing of the guard, and in fact, it was technological advancements that ended up ending the war, namely tanks.
Okay.
So that's once again, this is why that goes back to my pet peeve of World War One having this image in the popular consciousness that I do not think it deserves. However, I would agree with this, which is that the average soldier at the time was different than the average soldier of World War II. It wasn't as it was much more of a patriotic war as opposed to like when the Nazis took over, when it became that so many of the people were complicit in what they were doing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Not everybody. It's not, that's not fair to say about everybody. I mean, there were good German soldiers who were fighting because they were Germans, obviously, but there were also people who actually thought that the writers were a thing. Megabuster Shepard says Wilhelm was a Chad, Anthony. On that, there is no disagreement.
Absolutely. Yeah, Anthony, go take your East Coast elitist mentality back to New Jersey.
All right.
Nobody is arguing against the absolute chatitude of Wilhelm, but I contend that that's not necessarily a question of moral superiority.
If you had $1 million to blow, what would you spend it on? Taxes paid.
There you go.
So
Loans paid. Look, there's really I don't even have anything funny to say about this. Here's the thing, I don't actually care all that much about money. That sounds weird, and everybody, it's one of those things where you go, well, everybody says that when they don't have it or when they do have it or whatever, and that's true. So this strikes me as a question that's sort of like the question of would you die for your faith, and everybody would say yes until you're actually in that situation, and then you can't really answer it. What would I do with $1 million though? I'd pay off loans. That's it. That's what I do.
yeah, like I wouldn't. I don't really have big ambitions for money. I guess it would just make
Yeah.
the projects I'm dreaming of easier, like various ideas about schooling and libraries and stuff and housing and stuff like that. It's more of a vehicle to live a life. Like the real thing for me is I've seen obscenely rich people. I've seen people millionaires and stuff like that, and they died mad and crazy, not paying their debts, and their family tore apart their money afterwards. What do you got?
Yeah.
Ken?
Look,
What's your
go
heart
ahead,
desire?
Ken.
Oh, I would absolutely buy a new car because my current car is terrible. But I wouldn't get one of the fancy mega cars. Then I'd probably buy a house in Oregon because property taxes are pretty low there. Haha, I'm kidding. Property
Tell
taxes
you
are
what,
terrible there.
if I was gonna get one thing that was like a splurge,
Hey, you had your time.
no, I'm mentioning this because it's related to what you said. I would get a
All
car.
right,
I agree with you.
fair enough.
All
And
right.
then I would proceed to invest the whole rest of it so that I could get more money. Wahaha! Because $1 million really doesn't last that long.
I mean, in the west or
Yeah,
east
that's
coast.
true.
Yes, exactly. You don't think I'm going to live in? You don't think I'm going to live in St. Louis, do you?
You piece of crap.
Ew.
All right, both of you. Anyway, you're fair.
And I'm certainly not going to live in New Jersey.
I'm actively trying
That's
to escape
okay,
the
because
city.
I'm not going
so
to
it's not good.
California either.
All right. So the next question is favorite pagan mythos. Ken, you go first in this one.
Greek mythology.
Oh, that's such a surprise. Anthony.
I know.
I know we're so basic here, but yeah, it's Greek.
Yeah.
And
it's
however,
Greek.
if it makes you feel better, I do know. It's not due to lack of knowledge about others. I know of several mythologies, but I just do genuinely find the Greek the most interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like they're very human characters, but
I
at the
think
same time
sometimes
they're cool.
people say it because that's the only one they know, but that's not the case here.
It isn't.
Yeah.
They are cool.
Because I mean, we got a pretty good understanding of Norse mythology and a pretty good understanding of Celtic mythology, but all the rest of them,
I
just
know.
not as much
Well,
fun.
here's what I have a fairly decent understanding of. Greek/Roman, because they're the same thing.
Right.
Greek/Roman, Egyptian, I know
Mhm.
fairly well. Aztec and Mayan.
Mm.
At least years ago I did. I haven't looked it up in a while, but
Mm.
if I got a refresher on it, I would be able to be up to date on it pretty quick. So Aztec
Sure.
and Mayan mythology, which are similar but not exactly the same.
Right.
And Norse mythology, I know fairly well.
I say one reason I like Greek is it's not
Those are
as
the main ones.
all the other mythologies are either seem so much more brutal than Greek mythology. Like Aztec mythology, it's all about sacrifice and just cannibalism and stuff like that. It's horrible. Norse mythology is pretty brutal also, and Loki was a massive pervert, as was Egyptian mythology, where there's a whole bunch of really weird stuff with sex.
Oh,
Greek
yeah.
mythology, you got Zeus, turning into a bull or a swan and having sex with people, but other than that, it's not so bad by comparison.
Congratulations,
Comparatively,
Zeus.
Egyptian mythology is
That's
a weird
right.
one.
Hold on. So there's
Egyptian mythology is. Go ahead.
So there's this great one where it goes, "All right, Zeus, you've averted the prophecy where your son is going to overcome you. What are you going to do about that?" "I'm going to bang my way through Europe." What? And then they just watch him just go through Europe. It's like, okay.
I mean, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah.
Go for it, Anthony.
What I was gonna say about Egyptian mythology is a weird one. I think in terms of like the brutality of the stories and whatever, it's probably roughly on the level of the Greek myths, and maybe slightly more brutal because you got some body chopping in there, some body horror in there with Osiris.
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't like it.
But here's the thing: in the Greek pantheon, there is a lot of incest on the upper levels with the gods, but the Greeks and the Romans, at least to my knowledge, I could be missing something. To my knowledge, they just sort of ignored it. It was like considered an exception because they were gods, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it wasn't something to emulate. They were gods. You
Right.
didn't do what the gods did. Their relations and human relations didn't match one to one.
Right.
Hence, Zeus could marry his sister because they're gods, not
Right.
humans. In Egyptian mythology, the gods would marry their siblings, and the Egyptians would see that as a model for how they should act. And this became like a big thing in their royal family, and it's why so many pharaohs were born with birth defects. It
Interesting.
even
I didn't
became a
realize
thing as late into like the Ptolemaic.
that. So what you're saying is Cleopatra might have
when the
had
Greeks
8
took
toes.
over, but they were now pharaohs. There was
Yes.
yes. It's extremely weird and creepy. Like, you know, in Greek mythology, you could ignore it because, as far as I'm aware, at least, I've never heard anybody ever talk about it in the actual Greek myths, only like people after the fact who comment on it.
Mhm.
But as far as I'm aware, in the actual Greek myths, they just never really talk about it. It's not a thing like that
About what?
matters to them.
About
And
incest?
that's always been that they, yeah, with the god within the godly pantheon. Yeah, within the godly pantheon, it's just assumed that they have like different rules, kind
Right.
of. But in Egypt, no, the gods are a model. The gods' siblings would get married, and because the siblings would
Anthony, your audio keeps cutting out. I don't know if that's happening on your end too, Ben.
get married among
It does.
the
Basically,
gods,
I wait for it to come in all the way and just let them say it in a rush.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
here's what I've noticed. If I go off of Discord, sometimes that will happen. Then when I come back in, it will jump back in. So I'm gonna stay on Discord. To
Gotcha.
repeat what I was to repeat really quickly what I just said. So in Egyptian mythology, yeah, there's this thing where the siblings would get married in Egyptian mythology as well. Not that unusual in mythologies. The thing is, in most mythologies, it's normally just a consequence of the fact that they don't want to pay attention to that many gods.
Right.
And it's generally understood that, you know, they're gods. The rules for relations among the gods don't map one to one to humans. People just generally don't talk about it. Not in Egypt. In Egypt, they were to model their relationship off the gods. And siblings in the royal family were expected to marry. Very creepy, very weird.
Yep.
Right.
But the flip side is, I find the mythological stories themselves quite interesting. So, you know, I enjoy Egyptian mythology.
That's it. I would like to know more about Japanese mythology. What little bit I know, it seems really interesting.
Yeah, I don't Japanese Shintoism and that sort of thing. I don't really know. I know a little bit of Hindu. Hindu, of course, is a actual working religion right now.
Yes.
I am not a fan of the Hindu religion. I consider it a rather nasty pagan religion that has somehow survived to the modern day. If there are Hindus listening to this who are offended, please come to Christ. He's waiting.
The biggest surprise for me on that is that Islam didn't overcome it like it did the Zoroastrians and others. Like, there's still some Zoroastrians kicking around, but they're not important. Like, Islam, like, besides Christianity, Hinduism has been the only religion to hold its own against it, and I have no idea why.
That's because the Indians are actually really good generals, and they did a fantastic job fighting against Muslims.
No, they've been conquered by
Hinduism
Muslims.
is quite an interesting religion. It's an interesting religion.
Muslims. Like, their holy cities have been despoiled. Like,
oh yes, the Mughal Empire.
Yep, that's the big one.
Oh, my mistake. I did not realize.
Anyway,
Hindu mythology is interesting in its own right. However, I would be more interested in it as a historical curiosity. As
Well,
a
yeah,
thing
it's
that
not like a
actually still exists
it's,
in the
it's not like
modern
I look at any of
world.
these mythologies and say, hey, let's start following these.
Hmm.
Beware
As a
of
thing that actually exists in the modern world, I find that unfortunate, and almost all of the problems in Indian society arise from the fact that Hinduism plays a big role in their society. Buddhism, on the other hand, I have great respect for, and I suspect that if Christ had not arrived, Buddhism would probably be true.
That's fair. Let's move along. So, this favorite pagan mythos. I will say I do love Ra's journey into the underworld
Mm.
for Egyptian mythology. Mesopotamian mythology is weird, and there's way too much semen in it for my
Yes,
enjoyment.
exactly.
Let's see here. Favorite food?
Bacon cheeseburgers.
How about you, Anthony?
And we've lost him.
Mine is
His internet finally
chili.
gave up on him.
I like
I have
Let me
had
pull up-
Ben's
let me
chili.
pull
It's
up his board.
fantastic.
There we
Oh, there he is.
go. Cheese sausage.
cheese sausage. Fantastic.
Interesting.
That's right.
Never heard of that.
It's delicious.
Is this
I
a
know. So
is this a Italian thing?
I'll have. I would guess it's probably an Italian American tradition. We have it every New Year's Eve.
Hmm.
If Ben remembers the saga of last year, the place that we normally got it from made really crappy cheese sausage, which ruined my whole day.
It did. It did.
And I then went on a journey trying out different delis in the area looking for good cheese sausage.
An epic journey.
I've
Yes.
done that.
I'm still seeking, by the way.
While I was seeking and not finding, one man among 1,000 was found righteous.
That's
But
the
among
true
them all, not one woman.
That's the true religious journey.
Oh,
The search for good
Solomon.
cheese sausage.
It's fair. There's this monk who's like, I've been waiting for you. I had a vision, a dream to save this one for you. And you just fall to your knees crying while you eat it. Yes. Let's see here. Moving along, which Pinkerton would win in a fight? So I'm gonna put it like this: anytime if the Pinkertons would get into a fight, Jack only gets one arm, but like in general, it's a matter of surprise, preparation, and
Yeah.
why. So like
Right.
if it's just put in an arena and it's like they have to kill each other and they're going to fight. Instead of like work together to try and escape, like Jack's just gonna win, even with one
Yeah.
arm tied behind his back, because he wants to live that badly. That doesn't mean like the others won't get in good shots at him. It won't be, it'll be a good fight, but like it would still be, like if it comes down to will, who wants to win? It's Jack Morrow. But if
Right.
let's say that it's a preparations game, that's wholly in Jim's category. For the simple reason is that Jack has no magical bones in his body, and Jim could whip up something pretty impressive. And I'm not saying he's gonna. I would ever let him be like Batman.
Right.
It's like, oh, infinite preparation. Screw that. If I'm Superman, I get evil. I'm just gonna go, light speed into Batman's, cave of solitude or whatever.
You know the
Exactly.
great college humor skit. You know the great college humor skit, right? You know
There's a
skit.
whole bunch of them.
I'm referring to the one where Superman goes, Batman, we need to team up. And Batman stares at him for a moment, then he goes, why? He goes, what do you mean, why? He goes, why would you need to team up with me? You're Superman. He goes, your keen scientific mind alone. He goes, keen scientific mind, bullets bounce off of you.
Exactly.
He's like, oh my god. Then Gordon shows up like 5 minutes at the end of the skit, and he goes, what's going on here? And then Batman goes, get this, he wanted to team up. And Gordon looks at Superman, goes, why? And Superman's just like, all right, I'm out of here.
Screw you guys.
Exactly. That's why the DC never made sense to me.
It's fair. Just so you
And
guys.
then Superman just going like, and then Batman goes, oh my god, I understand now. You're jealous, aren't you? It was a pretty funny skit.
Just so you guys know, I'm going off of a list of questions that were provided for us, and
Right,
then
I
will
assume.
go back to the other questions. in comments. Uh, I do believe there are scenarios where Sean can win it, but it's not like just fight for your life. Like it's got to be for something, and he's got to be able to talk to one
Okay,
of them.
so here's my thought here. Between the three of them, first off, this is getting into territory where there is very possible, even likely, that something like this is going to happen one day in the hopefully long history of Pinkerton's Ghost upcoming. Uh, because we are
Yes.
nothing if not happy,
Yes.
who will take advantage of any storytelling opportunities coming our way.
What? Us?
With that,
No.
yeah, right. With that said, so I would think between the three, Ben has it about right. If you have any time to prepare or bring something with you or something like that, then Jim is going to be the winner, and Jim also has the highest potential for destruction. If
Right.
it's just one-on-one direct combat, it's going to be Jack every time. If you wanted to give Sean something in this scenario, it would be this. I think that Sean, of the three of them, would be the one who would be most likely to find a way out of the fight.
Sure, I can see that.
Yep.
Talk his way out, especially.
He would be, and that would be his goal as well. He would not
Right.
want to fight Jim and Jack, even outside of the fact, even outside of the fact that he knows that that they're in another league from him. Which at this point in the story, by the way, because Jack is growing it just like everybody else, and Sean is growing like everyone else. At this point in the story, Sean is definitely in a league behind Jack and Jim, and I can also promise you that we have discussed this very issue, and it will be explored in upcoming seasons. So stuff to look forward to. Uh,
Mwahaha.
on that topic, I'll say this. One thing that happened was, and here's inside baseball. So this is good for for our now two subscribers.
Two.
Right?
Two!
For our two subscribers, here's some inside baseball for the upcoming season. Don't worry, Ben. It's going to be very, very light on the and no
Listen.
spoilers. But
Little things we didn't discuss.
Right. But people are gonna
Right.
forget. Okay, don't you worry.
That's true too. Yeah, that's true too. So what I'm trying to say though is part of the discussion was we mentioned things that could not attack Sean because Sean couldn't win if they did attack him. And as soon as Ben said that, my immediate thought was obviously that now needs to happen. So the idea is I really, really don't like the idea of putting in as an arbitrary story decision the only reason that Sean has not been attacked by, and I'm naming this randomly, a kaiju, a 100-handed one, because I'm not going to say that stupid Greek word. A
Hecaton Kire?
100-handed one. Yeah, wait till my pronunciation of it is going to be fun, and you'll
Oh,
also
of course,
hear me.
Kire. Ah,
You'll also hear me at the beginning of the episode saying the word 3 different times before I get it right. So there you go. The hectaton hectatonchire,
Keep it in.
and then yeah, well,
that's right.
no, I already got rid of it.
Oh.
But anyway, I know it was pretty funny. But anyway, the reason. So I really don't like the reason of. Well, the only reason that Sean hasn't fought them is that he'd lose. We know that. Logically, that is the as opposed the Doyleist answer as opposed to the Watsonian answer, but it's not satisfying. So immediately after Ben said X threat level can never attack Sean, I thought about it and I said that's going to happen, and this is what we're going to do. And we actually did make a plan mid-season for Sean to face a threat level that would be more in line with the sort of threats that Jack and Jim face. So Sean does not get any easy passes here. And he is going to improve his fighting ability as the story goes on as well. So that's my answer.
That's fair. I like it. Being the editor, it's a careful balance. I have to make sure that like the things accelerate at a certain point, but also I need them to demonstrate their abilities. That's why I like the puppeteer for Jack as a villain, just because it's very antithetical to his character, and it's too smart to get caught in his shotgun blast. That's the reason why I had Jim deal with what he dealt with and Sean dealt with what he dealt with. I'm very careful about that. let's say that Sean shows up and disturbs Mordred while he's having a massage, and then insults him to his face or something. Like Mordred is, even
That would
though
be pretty funny.
it'd be pretty funny, but the ending is there's only one ending that's allowed to happen for that. Mordred gets up, takes off his gauntlets, or picks him up wherever they're lying, and he beats Sean unconscious with his gauntlets. Uh,
Absolutely.
because
So that's a certain level, though, where it's not so much that, as the author, we're avoiding those situations for Sean, so much as Sean, the character, is avoiding those situations, which he would, you know. But not to. Sean has a high enough sense of self-preservation that he would not do that.
That said,
your
I
point,
absolutely would
though.
love to see an opportunity where Sean gets out of his league and absolutely gets beaten to a pulp
Well,
by Mordred,
we're
especially.
going to do something like we're going to do something like that, and I'm not going into details about the episode here, though. Even if I did, as Ben pointed out, everybody would forget anyway. But I'm still not going to. We are going to do something like that.
Great. Now you're
mid-season
concerned about
2.
spoilers.
I have been a lot better with them, Ken, just for your sake.
Which I very much
Specifically for
appreciated.
you.
Thank you.
spoilers for the story I'm writing.
Yeah. Spoilers for the story I'm writing.
Exactly.
Also, I could just change it anytime.
He could. I'll let him.
Ooh. Wow.
Anyway. All right. Let's see here. Mega Buster Shepard, you gotta let me help you out. You here. Let me. Oh, here you go, Mega Buster Shepard. Oh, I can help you. There you go. There's a link to my subscribe star. Get yourself a nice $5 thing, and you can ask us questions. At least here today. But don't you worry, we're actually doing we're still doing the biblical stream, and revival stream, I guess we'll call it, later.
Is that Sundays?
Yeah, that's the Sunday one.
Very
Ideal
nice.
vehicle.
Oh, what are we doing on? Oh, yeah, you mentioned before. Never mind. Keep going.
Even though it's going to be Protestant Church, it's going to be in general what it is. Ideal vehicle, sci-fi wise. For me, it is a Lightspeed Riding Phoenix in my upcoming novel, 30 Light Years or Less.
And I had the opportunity to read some of this, guys. You will like this. It's a great one.
How about you, Ken? What's your favorite sci-fi vehicle?
Oh goodness, I think mine's gonna have. I'm gonna go with the bog standard, kind of embarrassing. I got to go with Galaxy class Enterprise D.
Ooh,
that was a great vessel.
Go for it, Anthony.
Yeah. So is it favorite as in like of the sci-fi vessels that are, the fictional sci-fi vessels? Which one is your personal favorite, or which one would you like to own?
Anything really. Like I just said sci-fi, but I think really when it comes to vehicles, it's only sci-fi.
So, but like, which one would I like to own, or what's my favorite, movie and story-wise?
I presume.
Take it however you like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like. So, okay, how about this? Of the various space operas out there, my favorite is the space western, and I consider it a variety of space opera, by the way. It's a space western, but it's a space western that's also a space opera. Anyway, I consider that is my favorite of the various space operas, and I really like the Serenity.
You didn't.
Oh, okay.
Firefly.
So, would that actually want to be the one that I own? I probably not, because it is canonically a piece of garbage. But
absolutely,
yeah.
There's at least one episode where it nearly kills them.
It's a fun setting. Yeah, but it's a really fun setting, and I like the design. Firefly is definitely my favorite of those space shows. With that said, I haven't watched The Expanse, and everybody tells me that one's good. Babylon 5 I'm pretty iffy about, because Babylon 5 I'm always told is good with reservations. And every time I hear good with reservations, it gets my hackles up. Now, granted, Firefly itself is good with reservations,
There
but
it
I
is.
still only have limited time to pick and choose. So I'd rather just hear someone go to me, dude, watch this, it's good, than it's good, except for all of season 5 and also the finale's kind of garbage, which is a random selection because I have no idea if that's actually the issue with Babylon 5, but it's the sort of thing I hear with it.
Oh wait, so you've
Oh
never
man,
seen
Babylon
Babylon
5?
5?
No.
This. Oh, okay. So it's another show that you have no experience with, but you've predetermined. Got it.
I haven't predetermined anything. I just am making the decision not to watch it. If people think it's great, they are, it might be right, but I need to decide. But I need to leave something on the cutting room floor.
There's not infinite time. Now that we're no longer in quarantine, there is not infinite time to stream.
Good. The next of the live action sci-fi series around, because honestly, I would rather watch anime anyway, since most of it's better. The next live action sci-fi one that I want to watch is really The Expanse.
It was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Have you
looked
guys
really good. Critical Drinker did a review. Go ahead.
So the underappreciated sci-fi show of all time is Space Above and Beyond.
Was that the? No, I don't know that one.
That was the Dogfighters.
I've never heard of it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So it was one of the last shows that used that Babylon 5 3D modeling engines,
Right.
which actually created really good spaceships. Like
Hmm.
even though it looks kind of hackneyed by now, like it
Mhm.
just hit the aesthetic just right. But it was basically a bunch of space marines and their fighter pilots fighting against an alien menace.
It's got pretty good reviews, it looks like.
Yep, one season, sadly, but it was absolutely amazing, and they were not afraid to kill their characters.
Nice.
Would you say that's your favorite obscure sci-fi? Because I got one in the same genre that I'll bring up after that.
It is my favorite. It's my favorite obscure sci-fi.
Okay. My favorite obscure, it's hard for me to find anybody that's even mentioned this, is Starship Troopers Roughnecks. It was one of the first fully CGI TV series in the early 2000s, late 99s.
So here's a spicy take on it.
Ooh.
I've seen it. I liked it.
Uh-huh.
The nudity ruined it for me.
No, there is no nudity in the TV series.
As the series went on, they added nudity to it, especially in the movies.
No, there is in the series Starship Troopers Roughnecks. There's only one season, and there was no nudity. Yeah. Now in the movie, which is separate from the series, there is nudity in the shower scene and everything else.
Right. I'm talking about in the franchise. There was a series of.
Oh, you're talking the
CGI
Starship
movies.
Troopers film.
No, I'm not talking about the film.
The shower scene.
I'm smarter than I know so. Anyway, so there's an anime.
Damn it, Anthony! You don't think I know that already?
So there's Starship Troopers Invasion, which I believe is a siege. No, that's the film.
That's something else. It's not the Roughnecks was the kind of, it was like there's a teen show back in early 2000s. I've got the whole series. It's very short, and unfortunately there were a lot of clip episodes because they were not given the budget they needed to animate multiple episodes every week, and unfortunately they weren't able to do the last arc because the studio shut down because it went bankrupt. So that's why that series died. But it had some really famous voiceover actors, some incredible action, great one-liners. It was kind of like Rogue One before, not Rogue One, kind of like Clone Wars before Clone Wars was a thing.
The Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars or the CGI Clone Wars?
I'd never watched Genndy Tartakovsky, so I've never seen it.
You should really watch Samurai Jack.
I hear that.
Great show. Now, there's a show I recommend without reservations, and yes, there's my spicy take. That includes the finale. The finale is a little rushed, but mostly very good.
It's fantastic.
It would have been, so I think the finale, it would have been a good idea to split it into 2 episodes, but it still works as is.
Absolutely. I just don't understand why he does Hotel Transylvania. but he does. He
Yeah,
does, and
Hotel
it's-
Transylvania is garbage, and it has a cult following that I don't understand. I think because it looks really good,
the
because
animation
it's
is
Jendy
amazing,
Tartakovsky.
right?
Yeah,
Mm.
because it's Jendy Tartakovsky, but the writing is just abysmal.
Is-
I'm sorry, it's bad. It's not good writing.
All right, let's move
And
on.
I've tried, like, I've seen sections. Cordell Mitchell says, "Ooh, those are fighting words saying anime is better." I'm gonna give you
Yeah,
a
right?
spicy take here. The spiciest take, number one, is that the greatest space western show ever made is Trigun, and also it's not particularly close since Trigun is one of the greatest shows ever made.
I mean,
Cowboy Bebop
I
2,
tried
but
watching it. It's really boring the first 4 episodes.
I don't disagree. Stick with it. But anyway, Cowboy Bebop is also a space western, but I wouldn't. But I think that calling it a space western is I think calling it a space western is almost limiting to Outlaw Star, since it's just as much a space yakuza movie as a space western, and many other genres. As they like to brag continually, Cowboy Bebop was a new genre unto itself.
So
They were not a show.
Outlaw Star is a space western. Maybe you can
Outlaw Star is 100% a space western, and not only that, Firefly stole basically everything about its premise from Outlaw Star. I firmly believe this. I absolutely think that's the case, and I also think Firefly's better.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, but the women were better in Outlaw Star. So, cats or
Duh,
dogs?
That's the important
true.
part.
Well, not
Dogs, 100%.
only partially true. Hold on, though. Only partially true, because Outlaw Star had the awful cat girl.
The cat girl was amazing.
The cat girl could go die in a fire.
Well, I guess we know
And
which one
I
did
l-
speak on cats and dogs.
and dogs, by the way.
All
And
right.
it's not particularly
I'm
close.
actually a dog. I can go either. Cats suit my actual lifestyle, but I love dogs. 2-hour dinner party with 3 men who ever lived and ask them questions.
Ooh.
So for me, George MacDonald, oh no, guy who wrote The Nightland.
Was that Hodgson?
William
Hodgson.
Hope Hodgson.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, William Hope Hodgson. And third one, I'm going to have it a wild card, but I do like the idea of picking Leonardo da Vinci's brains.
I like it.
That's fair. So, is it cheating to say Jesus? Because that's literally the first thing I thought of.
It's not cheating.
But is he a man or is he a god, Anthony?
Ooh.
He's a man, Ben. Don't throw that heresy in my face. Jesus is a man and he's God.
There we go. There we go. I knew
And you
could
know
do
it too.
I know it. I know it.
And you know it too.
I couldn't resist.
You know the answer.
But
But yeah. I mean,
heresy can
is
get our
that
Catholic
cheating
friends
to
to
say
speak. No, go for it.
Then sure, Jesus. Yeah. Lots of questions there. Let's see. Probably, I guess Thomas Aquinas. I'd be interested in picking his brain. If I could keep up with the conversation, which is doubtful, I suppose. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think. A third one. G.K. Chesterton would probably be an insanely entertaining conversationalist.
Right.
So Chesterton.
Jesus laughs at all his
There's my
jokes,
three.
even though he knows them.
Exactly. I'm trying to remember. There was
just
a
being polite.
playwright. There was a British playwright. I'm trying to remember his name. He was in the 1800s. He was eventually convicted of consorting with boys. Orson Welles. Not Orson Welles. Orson.
Orson. I know I have.
Orwell. Yeah. Orson Welles. Was that it?
I
What?
know I'm right there.
Or I think it's that's Orwell. Anyway, it's playwright accused.
Oscar
Wilde. That was it. Oscar Wilde.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
is
All right.
off.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I would pick Oscar Wilde,
so funny,
Donald
as soon
Trump,
as you said
Robin
he was
Williams.
Convicted, I knew you were gonna say for being gay, and I knew that's what you were getting at. Incidentally, Oscar Wilde converted on his death.
Great. Oscar Wilde, Donald Trump, Robin Williams.
There we
That's
go.
a fun 3.
That would be one heck of a conversation. I can't wait for that. The jokes, the mocking, everything would be epic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I might switch out Da Vinci for like Lord Duncany or something.
I don't know that one.
He's so so in the procession of literature, Lord Duncany is the middle ground between George MacDonald and Pope.
Okay.
And he has
Yes,
a lot
he
of.
is.
So, like, if you think about the progression, it's George MacDonald. So, like, it's Gothic fantasy. Then it's like George MacDonald, you know, Curdy and the Goblins, Princess and the Goblins, excuse me, The Wishing Chair
Right.
again, kind of these magnificent, very fantastical things. Lord
Mm-hmm.
Duncany, which had there was an element of poetry, which is stronger than the actual story arcs for a bit, though other genres were kind of blooming. So if you think about it, the most of what oh my goodness, can you guys hear that?
Oh, yes.
I
Yes, we
I
can.
live in
Soundtrack
that.
of Saint, the
Oh.
soundtrack of St. Louis in the background.
Pardon me, I gotta sneeze.
So, oh my goodness, you don't. Anyway, and somebody's like literally dying, but like I just don't care anymore. So let's see here. So in that period, I'm actually going to argue that from like 1890 to like 1910, the quality for writing was actually poor as things go, but it was also the time of greatest genre growth. You had the
Sure.
beginnings of the pulp, you had the beginnings of science fiction, like real science fiction, not just I went to the moon on a catapult.
Right.
And this is all the crazy things I saw. Shut up. You were drunk for like 13 weeks, Cassius. You know,
But then you also had H.P. Lovecraft inventing horror and all that.
inventing cosmic horror.
Right. Okay. There was horror before that, but
Gothic horror is actually one of the oldest
Edgar
fantasy
Allan
tropes.
Poe
true.
invented everything. Actually, Edgar Allan Poe invented like 3 different genres.
Barely.
Uh,
So the only argument that you can really make for that is detective fiction. Sort
Wait, for
of.
Poe?
Yes.
He invented. That wasn't.
Oh no, Poe invented detective fiction with his Auguste Dupin stories.
Yep.
Huh.
And I actually, here's a story. I argued with John C. Wright about this, and I still stand by that Poe should be considered the father of detective fiction. His argument was that even if Poe technically did the stories first, Conan Doyle was more popular and was the one who influenced the genre to grow into what it is today.
Yep.
I would argue that Conan Doyle modeled his stories off of Poe's Dupin stories. The structure is basically the same. Conan Doyle just had more vivid characters than Poe did, but they're the same essential sorts of stories. Also, Conan Doyle references Dupin. In fact, he references Dupin directly in a very hilarious way. Watson asks Holmes in one of the stories about Dupin, and Holmes like basically says that he was a carnival he was a carnival huckster, and that thing where he would guess what you were thinking was just a parlor trick. And Watson's like, "Please, Holmes, you're full of yourself." Then like 5 minutes later, Holmes just straight up answers what Watson is thinking and proves to him how he did it. It's actually really funny because the Sherlock Holmes stories hold up shockingly well.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They're fantastic. Conan Doyle, if anything, is an underrated writer more than overrated because he became one of those guys who became so known for like being the creator of Sherlock Holmes that like people sort of forget that actually the Sherlock Holmes stories were legitimately pretty damn good. Which is not always the case. Like there are certain books, for example, Dracula. You know,
Oh yeah,
Bram
very
Stoker.
dull. Very dull.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's almost like, does that mean that Dracula's a bad book? Well, the book itself sort of transcends the categories of good and bad at this point. I mean, it's Dracula. The effect that it has had on its genre and on the culture at large is so absolutely massive that you almost can't even talk about it like as pure literary quality. Like clearly people saw something in it. What am I missing?
Yep.
You know. But Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes do not have that issue. Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes stories are just as good now as I assume they were in the 1800s, and they're incredibly entertaining to read.
Yep. Like, I don't want to say that there was no quality during like the 1890s to 1910. It's just that compared to the like, if you think about it, some of the highest quality science fiction was written 1970s and actually kind of in this period.
Right.
But at the same time, there's no genre shift. Like
Mm.
steampunk is probably like the punk genres as a whole are probably the only thing to come out. And guess what? For every 5 steampunk books, there's like one of any other punk genre.
Right.
So we're actually in a sci-fi golden age with Galaxy's Edge and stuff like that. The only thing is it's books only, and not any other medium. Whereas in the
So,
say during Star Trek, it was books, movies, music, just a whole shebang.
okay, so here's the thing. Much like with everything else, we're in the middle of a lot of different golden ages, quote unquote,
Yep.
but in a strange way, we're in like hidden golden ages where so much more quality material is being made now in the past, and all of it is much harder to find than it ever has been before. This is true with games as well, and this is because of Steam. Now, Steam is, of course, a ticking time bomb, and when it goes down, then people are going to lose the thousands of games forever, and it will go down because man is mortal, and Steam is an online service. There will be a
But I'll
crash
be
or
dead
something.
first.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but there will be a crash or something, and you're going to lose thousands of games forever. However, overall, the influence that Steam has had on the industry as well as its greenlight games, yes, it's made mistakes. Yes, there are things it could do better, but it has opened up opportunities to people that simply were not there before. And as a result, video games are both in a dark age and a golden age at the same time.
Yep.
Like you get this weird thing where the console games are mostly pretty bad. I mean, they're not necessarily like awful games, but there's no innovation whatsoever. And you get this thing where you have a sometimes okay movie playing alongside a sometimes okay game, and never the and the two don't really have anything to do with the other.
So
But those are being made at the same time as games like Hades, which is now like almost immediately after it was released was considered one of the greatest roguelikes ever made. And that company is still active and still popular.
yep, they've survived surprisingly well.
True. I really want them to do an expansion pack for that one. Or not expansion
That would
pack.
be
What do you
nice.
call it? DLC.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I want there to be more areas of the game. If you want my one criticism, that's it. It's that the dungeons do get a little bit repetitive after a while. I would like more areas,
I would have liked
but
to
it's a
see it.
small critique.
So
I could see that later in the game, like let's say a practice arena where you could go. I want to practice getting past the I don't know, the Elysium monsters, and then you could just battle them in waves and maybe have a timed mode or something. I get what you're saying.
I'm probably gonna have to make like a sort of like a real politic video about our perspective looking back on literature history.
Mm.
Just because a lot
That would be cool.
like not just like, oh, the pulps were so great. Yeah, the pulps were great. All those men are dead. Uh, like
Most men are dead.
right, like no disrespect for Jethro Johnson, but it's dead. I want the future as much as I like the past. Which is probably why I write wacky science fiction with fantasy stuff all over it. Riding phoenixes, woohoo! 3-acre base on the moon or under the ocean. You can come and go as you please, and you have amenities. Which one, moon or ocean, guys?
Ocean.
Ocean, because then I can live out my Bioshock fantasies.
How about you, Anthony?
Ocean. Ocean's pretty dope.
Yeah, but why though?
'Cause Ocean's pretty no.
Okay, fine. I mean, I'll accept it.
No, I'll
That's
tell
the
you
answer.
why. The actual answer to this is There are living things in the ocean. There is nothing alive, hopefully, on the moon.
That's what you
Uh,
think.
There's Nazis
there
on
is
the
a
moon. I have it
That's
on
right.
good authority that there are plenty of Nazis on the
Hey, I saw the movie.
moon. All those
the
weird.
famous Michael Collins quote, who just, may he rest in peace, but where he said, was Neil was wondering what his first word should be, Michael Collins told him, if you had any balls, you would say, oh God, something's here, and then cut the mic.
That'd have been so epic.
That would have been.
I mean, sure, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That's pretty good. But oh God, what's that?
Guess that's okay.
It's fine. For me, it is the moon base.
All right, why so?
So, for the simple reason is that when I start ranting about my plans for the artistic world, while pacing and threatening people with my moon laser if they don't spend more money on the arts and not the SJW arts, the real arts, I want to do it from a position of appropriate avant-gardeness. Anyone can have libertarians can have an ocean base. All right, I gotta be better. I gotta have that moon base. Even though I'm schmoozing it up with Hugo Boss.
Yes.
I gotta choose whatever's the most avant-garde choice. If it's the moon or the ocean.
Can I change my answer? Because I forgot that The Moon is a Harsh Mistress is one of my favorite books.
You're ruining this. This is supposed to be avant-garde. I'm
But
supposed to be different.
Okay, but he had that weirdo multi-person marriage thing in that book, didn't he?
Weird. That was really weird.
Was that Moon is a Harsh Mistress? Or something else? I don't.
So it was like 3 women to 8 men.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
I won't say
it.
You know what? Living the dream right there.
Oh wait! 3 women to 8 men. Never mind. That's a terrible ratio.
Yeah.
I thought it was 8 women to 3 men. Yeah. No, never mind.
Yeah, their plan was actually pretty horrible. They basically had their lunar women like torment the soldiers until they got provoked enough to struggle cuddle one of them, and then they had an excuse for war. The more I think about Robert Heinlein's stuff. Sure, great ideas. He had a mastery of science fiction, and he was just a screwed up individual.
Oh yeah,
morally bankrupt. Like, it's one of those things where I'm kind of okay not reading his stuff. Don't get me wrong, Moon is the Harsh Mistress is probably one of the best sci-fi stories of its period. It is better than anything Arthur C. Clarke thought up, who does not deserve his position as a big 3.
Absolutely.
And I know that other people say stuff like A. Van Vogt.
Yeah, John C. Wright has argued A.E. Van Vogt.
I do not like A.E. Van Vogt's work.
I have never read it, so I have no opinion.
It is a little bit too cold and clinical. At least Slan is. It doesn't beat with a passionate heart, which is what I prefer. But I am a romantic, sadly.
Ew.
Harsh Mistress was about a prison colony on the moon. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but it's about that prison colony rebelling
on the moon. That's right.
That's right.
Stranger in a Strange Land was also about weird sex stuff.
Oh man, I hate Stranger in a Strange Land so much.
So, like, overly.
The only Heinlein book that I have read is Starship Troopers, and I quite liked it.
Good book. Great book.
Troopers is fine. I view that as inspired. But
yep.
As is Moon is the Harsh Mistress, but like Moon of the Harsh Mistress is half inspired.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well,
here.
yeah. You're confusing the word inspired with edited.
No, you forget Ben's an editor.
No. It was edited. I can tell. Because there's no actual sex scenes. They just cuddle. And Robert H. Heinlein was not a man to skimp on his sex scenes later.
Oh no, Farnham's Freehold is 100% dirty.
Robert A. Heinlein has 2 eras. He has the good era, which was also known as his juvenile era,
right?
But it happens to coincide with juveniles. I think is probably not a coincidence, and I'll get to that in a moment. And
you hadn't read his stuff outside of that. I thought you hadn't read him outside of Starship Troopers. Oh, this
I
is
did
another one
read
of
a
those
short
points.
story by him as well.
Okay.
I did read one of his short stories. By his bootstraps years ago. I'm
I don't
pretty
remember
sure.
that one.
Yes, I did. That's the famous one where he becomes like his own wife and mother and father and
Oof.
time travel shenanigans.
You know,
So-
John C. Wright did something like that in Planetary Mercury. It was really weird.
Yeah. So the point I'm making here, though, with Robert E. Heinlein, the story here is that he had the juvenile era, which was the good era, and he had his kinky sex era that occasionally had some good books in it, but they were all marred by weird sex stuff.
Yep.
And that was because he was no longer writing juveniles. His editor for the juveniles was, I believe, I want to say it was a woman, and I want to say like a born again Christian who harshly limited the stuff that he could include in his books, and as a result, they were vastly improved.
Yep.
This is the story. As you pointed out, the only real reference I have to is outside of juvenile work. Oh, I did read The Puppet Master, so that was also a juvenile, and also quite good. The only reference I have to his outside of juvenile work was a short story by him, by his bootstraps. But with that said, it sounds like a plausible read to me.
I read almost all of his juveniles. I think they're mostly fantastic. I read a few of his mid-era stuff, like Starship Troopers, Moons of Hearst Mistress. I enjoyed a lot of them. His
Starship
late-era
Troopers
stuff was terrible.
Starship Troopers is considered a juvenile by most people. It's considered his last juvenile.
That's probably true. It does feel like the sort of the culmination of an idea.
Right.
There's a big difference between like fan service, like what Conan the Barbarian does, and and what I did with Anthony's script, which you had an opportunity to read, Ken. I don't know if you did, but essentially,
I don't remember it.
We had somebody play on Jack. Not Jack's. Definitely not. Well, it does play on Jack's issues. But the bigger thing is Sean's issues.
Man, I just love that you write straight up. Sex scares me. I ignore it.
For Jack or for Sean?
For me.
No, for Ben.
Oh yeah.
Ben's just like, yeah, man. I just ignore it. All right, so my attitude with it is, I have literally never, ever seen a book or movie or anything that I think has been improved by the addition of a sex scene. People will say Berserk, and they might be right because I haven't read it.
Blade
Perhaps
Runner 2049.
that's the exception.
There we go.
I suppose that's true
Braveheart.
too. I can see. Well, no. Here's what I'll
I don't
say.
remember that one, so I can't comment.
If you have a weird sex scene in there that's meant to make some sort of point, I could see it. If you just have a sex scene, almost every time it will make the work actively worse and not better.
Okay, fine. So an unincorporated sex scene that is not actually involved in anything is just pornography.
Exactly.
How about this?
So, for example, Jessica Jones.
Hold on.
Yep,
We're going to
go
say,
ahead.
and I'm going to put it to rest to save our poor algorithm. We're going to say that any pornography added to a story for any reason, which is to say an unincorporated sexual act that is not the basis of character growth or character development in a real, provable way. For example, Blade Runner 2049, it is the height and culmination of the relationship between the AI hologram and the main character. It furthers the metaphor by having a fake sex scene between two characters using a medium of a third character. It, in fact, is a small version of the story at large. It's seriously one of the most complex and interesting ideas I've ever seen in a movie. It's stuck in my head. Not even because there was nudity. I didn't care about that. It was all about the fact that, wait, this is like this is like this. Like, it's a masterful piece. What's wrong with... why can't he do this all the time? Not the sex scene, the stuff. So it ruins the movie. And we're going to leave it... no, it doesn't ruin the movie. But I'm saying, like, the pornography, the unincorporated stuff ruins any movie it's in. Guaranteed.
Right.
And we're not talking about somebody's in a bikini because they're at the beach. We're talking full on whatever. Yes, even Romeo and Juliet. So we're gonna put this to rest. Uh,
Okay.
let's see here. But sex is scary though. Ooh, that's terrifying. Uh, but no, like with with Sean, since I wrote the 3 episodes, I had it be a clear description. There are clear reasons why this is physically attractive to Sean, but at the same time, I never go into enough detail that would cause a moral issue, we'll say. And that's a careful
Yeah, I would
balance.
agree with that.
Um, let's see here. So now we have gone through all of Cordell's questions. I hope he is satisfied with us meeting our products. Now we're just going to go through the chat real quick, and then we'll cut out for the night. Aaron VT asked the question of the hour, the true question, the only question that matters to me. How do you guys put out content? No, kidding. All questions are equal. How do you guys put out content for Pinkerton so often? And would you entertain fan submissions for the story so as long as it doesn't disrupt it? Since I am the chief editor, editor-in-chief, the big man on campus, I am very much in tune about what disrupts the story and not, and I never let a story that truly disrupts the Pinkerton's Ghost experience go through. So if you want to contribute, I am open to contributions, especially since it allows me to give breaks to these guys, at least on the writing side of things.
We're open to that too.
Yeah, exactly. That's why one's coming up. So, how do we put out content so often? Well, half of it is me getting on you guys and saying, "Hey guys, we need this by this date. You know, what can I do to help you? How can I help you through this? You know, what do you need for this? You know," and then it's produced for me. The other half is that you guys are just quality. You guys are quality guys. You're probably the best people I've had working under me, in like period. I mean, there was this kid named Ryan. He was a pretty cool kid. You know, you wouldn't even have to ask him to clean the bathroom in the gas station, even though I always clean the bathroom because the leader's got to clean the bathroom.
Absolutely.
Like when people are like, well, you know, you're going to go to a third world country. I've cleaned horrible things off of toilet and not just crap. So don't you worry about me. But no, like it's as much a drive to put out content as it is you guys being excellent, as it is just having a vision. I'm gonna rant for half a second here, but most people don't get that to produce a work of art, you have to have a vision of what it is. You can change that vision as you produce the art. Michelangelo's famous saying that the marble, it has a thing I'm going to butcher about a marble having the statue already in it. The same is true for writing, the same is true for audio, visual, or whatever. The photons, the ink already exists. Michelangelo's David is a fantastic work of art, though I'm a bit more of a fan of that fountain he did. But that's just, and Moses, the Moses statue is pretty great. But the idea was in his head. Did it match up 1-to-1 between the statue and the idea? No. But I guarantee you, even though it wasn't a 1-to-1 recreation of what he had in his head, it was still the best choices he could make possible because he was a true master of the art. You know, the reason why I would like to talk to Leonardo da Vinci is for the simple reasons that he was a master of arts, and I want to know what that mindset is. It's not just hard work. Brian Niemeyer and other guys, you know, the Ghostwriters, Money Twitter, they go over hard work. Oh, you got to discipline. Yes. But there's something more. There's a visualization that is missing from this stuff that I need. I need that hunger for it. I need that inspiration. I need that muse's kiss. It's why I love that's why I love George MacDonald and William Hope Hodgson and Lord Duncany and all that jazz. But yeah, no, the biggest thing is I ride you two. Because you are my two ponies, you are my Bucephali, and I will conquer India if I had but the soldiers. Alexander the Great reference for those who don't get it.
No. Yeah.
So from you guys' perspective, what do you got there?
I mean, goodness, I feel like you pretty much said everything that needs saying there. Yes, it really we do contribute or do work because Bin is a harsh taskmaster.
A harsh mistress, if you will.
I was about to say that because that's a little gay.
The leather is requirement.
Totally is.
Totally.
So here's a slightly more serious. Here's a more serious answer from my perspective. So we joke about Ben, but at least from my perspective, Ben is really not that harsh of a leader. He strikes it. However, this is complimentary. He strikes a good balance. You know, I
Yep.
never feel like Ben is demanding anything, but at the same time, I know that Ben is keeping an eye to make sure that we get it done, and he
It cuts out just as he was complimenting me.
It does.
It does. It
God
hurts.
has a sense of irony, my friend.
He does. He does.
he is there to offer his support to us if we need it. Part of it from my agreement to do this. So if I mentioned it earlier and people go, do you enjoy working on Pinkerton's Ghosts or writing Pinkerton's Ghosts? And the answer is enjoy is the wrong word for it. I neither enjoy or not enjoy doing it. I enjoy coming out with the finished product and seeing it. Unlike other authors where it seems to be almost a point of pride that they're insecure about their finished work, I am not. I am proud of the work I put out, and I would not put it out if I was not proud of it on at least some level. That doesn't mean I don't recognize with a brutal honesty which are better and which are worse. But if I didn't think it was at least pretty good enough that I would want other people to read it, then it would not be out there, nor would Ben let it go out there for that matter.
Yep.
Uh, Ben is able to fix things to an extent. So I like seeing the finished work out there. I like having it out there. Uh, do I like actually sitting down and writing it? I don't, it's not a painful experience, but it's not something that I think is actively enjoyable either. It's something that I need to get done because I agreed to do it. I agreed to be a part of the Pinkerton's Ghost team. I agreed to put out an episode once every 3 weeks. That means that if I need to make other sacrifices in order to get it done, then I guess that's something that I'll have to do because nobody forced me to be here.
Yep.
And that's my answer.
But by golly, like a gang, if you try to leave, blood in, blood out.
Yep. Yep. Let's, huh? So, just
Get a severed head in the map.
of course, yes,
The funniest part is he can't hear when we can't hear him. He just keeps going.
it's great.
I'm gonna get a severed head in the mail.
Yep. Let's see here. Just some comments. I missed Aaron VT's Shinto mythology is interesting. The idea of the divine and demonic are not hard lines humanity can't cross. Yokai stories are fascinating. I have noticed that in the East that one can become a god, where in the West that's not necessarily the case unless you say are related to Zeus.
Right.
I would say the most interesting mythology for us is Greek mythology. I do like some parts of Egyptian mythology and so on and so forth. But honestly, if we're talking as a whole, I think all three of us are in agreement that it's Greek. Subscribe Star is working well. The disbursement hasn't happened yet, sadly, but it should be happening in a month or something.
But what's the disbursement?
Of funds. Like the only thing that's weird about
Oh,
it
right.
is I find the delay. I mean, it makes sense because you have to have a delay so people don't just like pay and then just pull out. But
Right.
like sometimes it feels kind of weird how these programs do it. Like there's a whole bunch of rules to it that I dig, but also I don't dig because I know from what Patreon has done that these places are stupid enough to break their own rules. But whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see, just cutting through it. Samurai Jack, where Jack is played by the same guy who got shot in the face by Vincent Vega. I don't remember that. I don't know enough about that. Who's Vincent Vega? Oh, it's
I don't know.
Pulp Fiction.
Vincent. Oh, right.
Right. I don't remember who he shot though. It's been years since I watched that movie.
He shot the kid in the car.
Sure.
That's what the scene that got
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they gave an N-word pass to Quentin Tarantino.
That's right. Well, he wrote himself his own N-word pass.
Right. Aaron VT, Outlaw Star was better than Trigun as a space western.
I think Outlaw Star was okay.
I think Outlaw Star was its
I
own thing too much for a 1-to-1, namely spaceships. Cordell Mitchell says that Cowboy Bebop is boring, but that's okay. We still love you. Cordell Mitchell says Anthony asked Jesus about the Trinity.
Yes, exactly.
Though I always tell people it's like the Kool-Aid Man. The Kool-Aid Man is not the pitcher, is not the ice, is not the Kool-Aid, but he is all three. And I'm sure that's some sort of 5th century heresy too.
Yeah, I was about to say there's heresy involved in there somewhere.
Yep. Cowboy Bebop burns slow, burns hot. This is Bradford Walker. Heat is equal parts writing and music confessed as much by the director and the musical director. Cowboy Bebop would not work without his musical score.
Absolutely. Also, I will say Cowboy Bebop was the first anime I ever watched, so it's got a little bit of soft place in my heart that is devoid of critical thinking.
You see, for me, that was Orand Host Club. I was losing my mind. Though my first real anime was probably Digimon, original series. Megabuster Shepard says Duncany is the bridge between Victorian literature scene and early Pulp Fiction writers. Absolutely true. Something about a moon catapult. Fiona Wolf, friend of the show, says add a moon catapult to Uplift Protocol. I still don't know what Uplift Protocol is. It has superheroes in it, but it looks cool. Maybe someday I will check it out. But we love you here. Yes, we do. Megabuster Shepard says it's worth looking into the 1800s dime novel scene. To be honest, influenced Doyle and Poe. The biggest names you need to be looking into for that stuff is the Castle of Otranto, which is actually pretty short, and Vathek. They are both landmarks in the early Gothic literature genre. Gothic literature, even though it is much maligned in the modern day, is the queen of grandmother of all the genres we enjoy today. It is in direct descendants to everything from sci-fi to steampunk. Especially steampunk. That's not much of a thing. I should have said that. But from zombies to sci-fi to fantasy, everything passed through Gothic horror at some point. I would even say that without Gothic horror, we would not have the genres we would have today.
Interesting.
Somebody says that Michael Moorcock still lives. That's true. That is true. That is my mistake. However, he does not live well. And I understand he spends most of his time Twitch streaming.
Ooh, poor guy.
Which is like an oof. And I get that like D&D on stream has a niche that's pretty strong. And he's got the name recognition for it. But anybody who understands literature, who has taste, who is an elitist snob like us, realizes that Michael Moorcock is the kid who wrote one good novel in high school and then coasted off of it because he had a high school level but never improved. It might actually have gotten worse.
He's Patrick Rothfuss then.
Yeah, pretty much. George R. R. Martin, anyway. Heinlein objectivism. Ayn Rand was a perv as well. That's true.
Oh, yes.
That's true, but she could pay me enough to step on me. I don't know. Somewhere in Time with C. Reeves did the romance just right. Faded cutaway at the right time. Pulp Speed, writing, that's Fiona Wolf. Cordell Mitchell is satisfied with us. Very good.
Yeah.
Sir. We will put on the bikinis next
Yay!
Fiona Wolf
What are you talking about? I'm standing in mine right now.
I'm actually down to my underwear. How about you, Anthony?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay.
There is no safe answer.
All right, how about this? I just discovered that there's a Franz Kafka video game.
No.
Well, looks like I know what I'm getting.
So I guess it literally is
It's
Kafkaesque.
69. It's 69 cents. Add to cart. Also nice.
Pulp speed, writing every day from 500 words a sitting to getting 4.4 to 5, usually 3K a sitting. Get Kit Sun Chia level. Kit Sun Chia is a beast. He wrote
I don't know this.
So he, Ben Chia.
Right.
I guarantee you've run in the same circles as him.
Oh, okay.
He published a lot of stuff in early Castalia.
Oh, okay.
But he did write 100,000 words in 20 days.
Good grief.
Fiona Wolf also talks about hunger. It's important. A harsh mister, she calls me. Yes. Yeah, so I'm also hungry for success. Once this finale
Cordell Mitchell did not like my joke, so
None of us did.
I'm gonna go crawl in a hole and die.
All right, it's fine. It's fine. We're still good. The money's still flowing in, boys. We'll beat Anthony for you if it pleases you. If it pleases you, we will beat him. Let's see here. I'm also hungry for success. Going back to Aaron VT's question, I am absolutely hungry for it. If we fail, it'll entirely be because forces outside my control cause us to fail. Like I'm going for it. The second we're done with this stuff, I start putting together the crowd fund for some covers and maybe a comic, if we can get enough money together. Not directly.
I'm looking to figure out how to make a web series out of this.
Yep, like we're just keep going for it. Like we don't want to sell our souls to Netflix.
No.
Yeah, but at the same time, as long as I'm allowed to run away with my toys, if they don't let me, if they try to force a pedophile thing into it or something, I'm fine with that. I got to run away with my toys. So let's see here. Bradford Walker says, I understand. We're nearly done. We're nearly done, boys. I understand why a lot of people don't care for my favorite series. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a slow burn, very cerebral, historical reference audience thinks. It is a high concept series, but it is not necessarily entertainment for the masses. It's like how there's some space opera out there that's very developed, very like Star Trek, right? It's not Star Trek, because Star Trek is the equivalent of science fiction of Star Wars. It just pretends better.
Right.
It's one of those things. It deserves all the praise it gets. It also deserves people saying, "Hey, this is boring."
Right.
It's like people reading about Napoleon. Napoleon's life and campaigns were exciting. It's boring to read about. Let's see.
Sure, I'm sure he loves it in his life.
Cordell Mitchell says Michael Moorcock is an unfortunate name in your 12-year-old mind, and you
Yes.
lost Anthony. Anyway.
There you go.
Fiona Wolf says, I will back a crowdfunding campaign to get a nice audio collection for playing in the car, a la audiobook. That is one of the things on the table for her drives to her poor, sickly, beautiful, wonderful grandma 3 times a week. Pinkerton's on the road. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's also on the table. Like, it would basically be something like novel covers, audiobook, comic, and then just extra comics and, paying people and stuff like that. Like the more media we put out there, the better off we get. That's the long and short of it. Well, gentlemen, do you have any final words for us?
Afraid not.
How about you, Anthony?
Oh, well, actually, no, wait. I take it back. I take it back. I do. Recently, I just released an audiobook with John C. Wright called Book of Feasts and Seasons. Yes. It is a fantastic audiobook. It's 8 hours long. I've already heard some good things about it, so if I may toot my own horn there, it is a fantastic romp for, well, not the whole family. Some stories you definitely shouldn't listen to with your kids. But yeah, it's a good time.
Where is it on Amazon?
Look for Book of Feasts and Seasons. Oh, I don't know how they do their audiobooks on Amazon. I've never looked for them there.
You see,
it's on Audible. I know that.
I'm recovering from a sinus infection.
Worst time in history to have a sinus infection.
I know. That's why I didn't go to church. And it was like an amazing service, apparently. except
Of course
that
it was.
YouTube did an update of their thing. There we go. I
Mhm.
put the link in chat, and like the
Oh,
stream
thank
went
you.
away.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's John C. Wright. That's it. It's narrated by Ken Dickinson. It's John C. Wright. It's fantastic. How about you, Anthony? What do you got for us?
Listen to our final episodes. They're good. Exciting stuff is happening.
Yep. Aaron VT, you are in the lucky position of being able to listen to our episodes ahead of time. I do want to
Hmm.
warn our new people that we are going to be skipping a week until we start season 2. So it's just going to be like 2 months or so, where it's like one episode a week. I might produce something just small for myself, but we'll see how that goes. But just letting you guys know. So I don't want anyone surprised or anything like that. I've got a lot on the table. I'm trying to move to a Asian third world country, Vietnam, and all kinds of things like that. So I'll be fine in the long term, but I still got to juggle all these balls I've been willing to accept, and I don't mean any sort of pun there. So,
But we will still make innuendos.
innuendos all the day. Moon
Yes.
Catapult episode in Pinkerton's Ghosts. Well, I could try to figure something out, because I finally established that there are bigger organizations than the Pinkerton's Ghosts. It's always been a hint,
Mm.
but now it's a literal thing. Like I've established the rules for it. So I could probably work something out where they're investigating something. However, that's something for the far future, but I'm not willing to write it out. Thank you guys for joining us. It is always a pleasure for us to, do these things. We will talk to you again next month for your questions and answers. Have a good one.